Pride Month, everybody! So I want to do a quick video on some topics that relate to Pride. So today we're going to talk about transgender, pansexual, what all that stuff means, because I know I've done a video on it before, but a lot of people have asked me how specifically my pansexuality works, and, you know, what all of the surrounding factors of that are. So, yeah, let's just have a quick chat on that, huh? So in previous, Rage casts, I guess you call them, or podcasts, or really whatever you want to call this, I've, gone into After Dark topics, specific things surrounding that. Please ignore the audio in the background. There's a giant parade that just decided to go through right as I went to record, so oops. But yeah, what are my preferences? So I identify as pansexual instead of bisexual because I previously was using bisexual, but I do realize that sometimes that can be a bit exclusionary. So the real difference for me in bisexual versus pansexual is bisexual typically refers to being interested in male and female as more traditionally defined. Cis male, cis female, which I realized wasn't actually something I cared about when looking at a person that I really liked. I don't really have a preference on whether you decide to portray yourself as male or female. I usually just go for personality, and what's in your pants doesn't really bother me that much. You could have really any kind of genitalia, but if I really like you, I'm gonna really like you. It doesn't really affect how I see people or become attracted to people. Now, some people may think that, being bisexual kind of covers all the bases, but I've found that it doesn't really necessarily. If you're interested in someone purely on their personality and you really don't care what's in their pants, and they could be trans, non-binary, cis, what have you, sometimes bisexual can be a bit exclusionary because you're kind of indicating that you're only really interested in what's traditionally seen as male and female, and anything that's a bit by the wayside or out of the norm doesn't typically get included. Some of my friends do identify as bisexual because they really aren't open to the idea of dating someone who is trans or non-binary. Now, some people may say that that's transphobic or hateful, but honestly it boils down to that's just not what they're into. And I can understand that, and while I do see that as a bit exclusionary, and it can be a bit hard for someone who's really interested in a bisexual person to have to mention or come out that they are trans, that I can understand where people are coming from. However, I don't identify that way. I have massive crushes on some trans males and females, and some people who identify as non-binary, and for that reason I use pansexual rather than bisexual because it's more inclusive and it does give a better idea of what I myself find myself very interested in. Now, I know it's not for everybody, and some people watching this will be like, well, yeah, but I could never see myself dating someone who looks female but then has male genitalia, and that's fine. If that's not really what you're into, then I respect that and I understand. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick idea on what I identify as and why. I've gotten a couple of questions about it. A lot of people have asked, well, how would you feel if the person you're really interested in wasn't the gender that you thought they were? And honestly, I don't really look at or take much note of gender when I'm getting to know someone or getting really attracted to someone, so it isn't really a big factor for me, but I understand for some it is, and it does kind of change how you view the person. Anyways, have a really great Pride Month, everyone. I just want to do a quickie on all of this, given that it is Pride and it's probably a hot button topic and a lot of you have asked, so now you know. That's why I identify as pansexual, and whatever you choose to identify as, I hope you have a great heckin' day. Bye!